Okay, so welcome back to the channel, everybody. So I've got brand new drivers to review from a company that is pretty big in the US, but maybe not heard of as much over here in Europe, and that is Tour Edge. They've got a brand new lineup of their exotics range. That name has been in there for a number of years now, but obviously revamped through generation after generation. We've got the Exotics Max, the 10K driver, Ultimate Forgiveness, and then we've got the Exotics LS, the low spin version. So we're going to hit both of these drivers in this particular video. We've had some great success with Exotics drivers in previous reviews, so I'm excited to hit these and give them a test and deliver that to you guys. So there is actually three heads. There is another head which is the light head, which is obviously more for a very slow swing speed. Haven't got that particular one, but I'm going to test these two, which are going to be probably the main drivers in their lineup. So we'll just do a little comparison between these two clubs to start off with. So we've got the Max, which as you can appreciate is going to be maximum head size in a way, 460cc, as you know, that is a limit. But in terms of footprint, it's generally pretty big. And it is pretty big, but it's not massive. I've seen bigger, other brands have done Max drivers and they've been huge, looks very big. This doesn't look too intrusive in a way in terms of that head size. It's really square, matte, carbon. There's lots of carbon. I'm going to talk a lot about the technology. Tour Edge do a lot of tech, so we are going to run through that. And of course then the LS gives us a little bit more of that squat look, a little bit more of a neater sort of appearance. Again, sits very square, but the finish on it on the head is exactly the same. If you're like me and you're trying to hit your daily protein goals, but you're also busy, then this is an absolute game changer. This is Huel Black Edition, a complete high protein meal that gives you 40 grams of protein in every portion, plus 26 essential vitamins and minerals. It tastes amazing too. There are loads of flavors to choose from, but honestly, my personal favorite has to be the salted caramel. It feels like a treat, but it's packed with goodness. The best part, it's so quick and easy. Literally 60 seconds and I've got a delicious protein-packed meal ready to go. Perfect after a workout or when I'm on the move. Since I started using Huel Black Edition a couple of months ago, I've noticed I've got more energy and feel less tired, thanks to vitamin B12, which helps reduce fatigue. If you want to give it a try for yourself, then use my code MNG15, which will access you 15% discount off your first order. Either scan the QR code on screen now or jump into the description underneath this video where there's a link and that will take you directly to the Huel website. Fuel your day the smart way with the Huel Black Edition. Right, so we're going to start off with the Max, the Ultimate Forgiveness, the 10K driver, which is, as we see often in the last season or two from other brands. So just first of all, start off a little bit with the head cover. Premium head cover, feels really good. Black and white and a new TE logo from Tour Edge there. Exotics down the center, very nice quality head cover. And that transfers into the club itself. It looks pretty premium, does the driver. We see lots of carbon on the sole, lots of carbon on the top. As we mentioned, maximum forgiveness. We've got this 18 gram weight in the back of the driver, which is very sort of hid in like a little channel in the back here. So there's nothing exposed. So when you look at it at the bottom, it doesn't look like there's a weight there, and it's in this sort of channel, recessed channel in the back of the driver. So we've got an option of putting it in the center for more neutral, toe for a little bit more fade, and heel for a little bit more draw. So there's some flexibility in that department. I've got a 9-degree head, and then we've also got adjustability in the neck sleeve, which again will work a little bit through. So as always, let's have a look into that playing position. Again, it's a pretty big footprint, but it's not massive. We've got this sort of grey matte carbon effect, which looks stunning. A little bit of more of a solid edging around the back and a little bit more across the front of the club. The E logo has a little bit of an alignment aid, and Exotics just printed on the inside of the heel section of the crown. A little bit of a busier face with regards to a lot of etching on there, so it very much sort of frames the ball. You know where the middle of the golf club is through that logo, but also through that little bit of etching that we just see on the club face. As I say, this is 9-degree head, comes as standard as 45.5-inch playing length. Okay, that was a little bit high in the face. Wasn't the best of strikes, if I'm being honest, but the launch was good. The spin was low with that high strike, but not too bad one in terms of accuracy. So the big talking point here is the carbon, is a full body carbon, so carbon straight across the all the matte area that isn't high gloss. It's all carbon across the bottom, and then we can see all that carbon in the crown there as well. So much more introduction of carbon from previous models, which will obviously help to save weight and get that redistributed and probably into that 18 gram weight, which is positioned in the back of the driver, which creates that MOI number. I could hit a little bit up the left. Strike was a bit better on that one. Feels quite low spin, that, to be honest. Yeah, 2.2 spin. That's pretty good. 271 carry, that's not bad numbers. So the other talking point with this driver is the club face, and this pyramid face is what Tour Edge call it now. This is a new technology now, which they call the pyramid face. It's a similar sort of process where there's a little sort of pyramid shapes, again, behind the club face, which is allowing to keep that ball speed up. Oh, that's a good shot. That's a good flight. It's a good high, it's pretty high flight, but it's not climbing, if that makes sense. So the spin is under control, there you go. So just under 2,400 on the spin with something that's a lot of weight in the back, which typically launches and sometimes spins the ball a little bit higher. So I think getting the control of the spin with a bit of launch is going to be a help to getting a little bit more carry distance for many golfers out there. So the bit of technology in the club head is this 360 ridge back technology, is what Tour Edge are calling it. So basically this sort of spine that runs through the edge of the drive, around the crown, into the back area and back into the heel section here, is all about sort of being more stable, stability, so it's not losing energy. So again, and maybe as you miss the strike, we're going to get some flexing in the head. It's not absorbed through there. That is going to put it back through into the club face and back obviously into the golf ball, so creating a lot more stability in that head with all that carbon obviously is wrapped around it. Oh, right, that's a touch in the heel. Felt like that, yeah, a little bit low heel. It's just hung out slightly to the right on me. Spin, yes, that spin will always go up from that slightly low heel strike, but that's not a bad change in spin number, so it's controlling it a little bit on that sort of strike. So again, maybe that stability, you know, that weight at the back is going to help me out. So that takes us on to this weight in the back, 18 gram as we mentioned before. We've got heel, center or toe sections to put in there, so we can move that around. I would probably use that as a fitter. I'd probably use that more to base it around a strike pattern for a certain golfer. Somebody hits a little bit in the heel, I might just move that weight a little bit towards the heel to put a bit more mass behind that hitting area to help with ball speed and stability in terms of shot shape from those slight misses. And then of course we move into the adjustability of the neck sleeve. Now when you look at this, there's a lot of letters and there's a lot of plus signs and there's a few minus signs in there. All looks very sort of confusing. When you take the shaft out of the head with obviously the wrench that you'll get with it, it then says higher, lower, standing, all those sort of things. Again, it's still a little bit misleading, so you're going to have to look at the sort of graph, which I'm just up on the website here now of Tour Edge, to get a really good understanding, because as you change these settings, it's going to change the loft, but it also changes the lie angle. So you've just got to be a little bit careful of maybe where you're putting that as to the shot you're trying to hit, or the shot that you're trying to reduce. I mean, you're trying to hit your daily protein goals, but you're also busy, then this is an absolute game changer. This is Huel Black Edition, a complete high protein meal that gives you 40 grams of protein in every portion, plus 20. Tastes amazing too. There are loads of flavors to choose from, but honestly, my personal favorite has to be the salted caramel. It feels like a treat, but it's packed with goodness. The best part, it's so quick and easy. Literally 60 seconds and I've got a delicious protein packed meal ready to go. Perfect after a workout or when I'm on the move. Since I started using Huel Black Edition a couple of months ago, I've noticed I've got more energy and feel less. If you want to give it a try for yourself, then use my code MNG15, which will access you 15% discount off your first order. Either scan the QR code on screen now or jump into the description underneath this video where there's a link and that will take you directly to the Huel website. Fuel your day the smart way with the Huel Black Edition. But ultimately the loft can go up and down by up to 2 degrees. So I've got a 9 degree, I can go down to 7 degree, I can also go up to 11 degree. And then we've got a lie change of up to 2.5 degrees up and obviously down. And availability wise in these is a 9, 10.5 and a 12, both right and left hand. Ooh, that's a nice ball flight. Does feel quite stable, to be fair, on those hits. See, that was a little bit toe, that's flown very, very straight. So getting some nice sort of stability and some pretty decent numbers. So let's move into the LS and see what that performs like. LS obviously stands for low spin. So these typically are more for your faster club head speed player who just want a bit more penetration and trying to keep a control of that spin or reduce a sort of spin. It's a 440cc head now, so obviously a touch more compact than the Max that we've had there at 460, but then just shaped a little bit more compact again. So it creates a deeper face, more of a squat look from the front to the back of the golf club. So again, in that playing position, it just looks a lot more compact in a nutshell. Again, sits incredibly square. We've got all that carbon still happening. We've got adjustability in the next sleeve, but the weight system now has changed a little bit. So we've got 2 weights. We've got a 5 gram weight and a 18 gram weight. We can move these from the front to the back and flip them around. So we've got one sort of in that recess in the sole towards the front of the club, near the club face. And we've got one nicely hidden in the back as well. So they will flip around. So you can adjust maybe trajectory of ball flight here, whether you want a little bit more spin, a little bit more launch, or in that real low spin version with that weight for heavy weight in that forward section. Okay, so let's get this first one hit. So I've got exactly the same shaft, 9 degree head, set at 9 degree. Again, good ball flight. Bit off the toe. Yeah, felt that. You can feel a little bit more twist in that. I mean, I have got this heavyweight 18 gram weight at the back. Feel a little bit more twist than maybe what I would do when I missed it on the toe with the Max head there. But obviously this isn't going to be 10K. Having said that, Tour Edge are saying this is their most forgiving players compact low spin driver they've ever made. So, you know, we're not sacrificing maybe too much in that forgiveness when this head gets more, obviously more compact. But sits really nice and square again. Just fell off that one a little bit. Again, fractured toe, was it? Yeah, feel that. Wasn't a bad shot. It's a little bit of a different sound that against the Max. It's a little bit tinnier on the sound, which surprises me. It's not as muted. I thought something like this type of driver might be a little bit quieter, a little bit more muted, maybe because of the weighting system. I'm not too sure. Right, there's a little test. That's right off the bottom of the golf club. That wasn't the best of strikes. Ball speed's not bad with that particular strike, and that spin hasn't gone up from that low face strike, which is really good. So let's have a little play around with these weights. I'm going to take this 18 gram out of the back of the head, and then I'm going to slot that into the front. So moving that heavy weight forward just helps to shift that CG location a little bit nearer to the club face. So generally speaking, that will create a little bit more lower launch and a little bit more lower spin. Okay, that's a little bit toe. Just moving off the left, feel a bit more twist in the head there, and that's probably the little sacrifice. It wasn't too bad a shot, to be honest. It was low spin, but probably more so from the toe, I would say, but could definitely feel a little bit more twist and gearing on there with that particular option of that heavyweight forward. And that's probably the compromise you're going to get a little bit when weight goes forward towards the head. Miss hits tend to see a little bit more twist in it. But as a miss, that wasn't a bad miss. You can see there, that is actually the longest shot from a slight toe. Probably more so that spin will have dropped low, which it has done at 1700 with a high launch. I mean, the height hasn't changed. The weight going forward hasn't changed the launch angle at all there. That spin has definitely come down a little bit. That was a pretty decent connection. The launch is still there, but the spin has definitely just come down a little bit with that weight going forward. And that's just getting me into that carry number there, but there's maybe a little bit more of a run out. Right, that's a test, that's a heel. A little bit of cut. I mean, straight. I will take that all day long on the golf course. 2000, right, that's an interesting one. That was definitely in the heel. It felt a bit dead, as sometimes you do when you strike that heel, a little more of a deader sort of feel, but that spin's really maintained. I've only dropped back about 4 or 5 yards, if that. on what felt a bit of a miss hit. Availability wise in the LS is a 9 and a 10.5 only. And unfortunately for you left-handers, there's no options for you guys. It's right hand only in the LS. So there's a new lineup in the exotics range from Tour Edge. Let me know your thoughts about Tour Edge as a brand. Is that something you've got in the bag? Have you tried it? I'd love to hear how you've got on with it for yourself, and hopefully we'll catch up with you all very soon.